a set of blocks for today. And then like whatever you might want for Shavasana or patting your knees. That's pretty much all we'll need. So I guess we will get started. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody and head over to the mat. So we're gonna just start seated for a moment. Sorry, I have a little bit of like a, I don't know, allergies or something going on. So it probably sounds a little funny. Okay, so we're gonna talk about collapse today. And a lot of these concepts are things that I've been doing in my trauma module with my teacher. So collapse can happen from trauma, can happen from other things as well. But collapse is when we just kind of lose all of our sense of self in a way, and we're just kind of like, you know, rounded shoulders. We lose our core. We have weak back muscles because of the rounding. We're not holding ourselves up straight. So there's that. So this is going to be about, you know, a lot of strengthening the core, a lot of strengthening our back today. Couple things that we can, you know, notice in bodies when we're talking about collapse. Lack of support in our joints is a big one. So when our body's kind of in this collapsed state, it's like energy is just really dragging us down, and there's a lot more pressure into our joints as opposed to when we keep ourselves more uplifted. So you might see that collapsed arches of our feet, collapsed ankle joints, when we're in our down dogs and our even in our Uttanasana standing poses, you might notice like the joints just look overextended, stuff like that. Also things like numbing, like we might kind of just check out from life, and feeling really disempowered. So when our posture is like this, we just have that lack of connection to our empowerment. So the things that we'll do is like work on really activating our legs and our feet, because that's our foundation, kind of wake things up. Also, you know, of course, we're going to do some core work this morning. You'll need the blocks for that. And then some back bends to strengthen our backs. So I'm just going to read one more thing to you guys, and we're going to come down on our backs. This is a quote from my training. The no core person, he calls it, having no center line around which to organize his perceptions and from which to orient toward the world, frequently has problems and difficulties being present. Their manner and mode of occupying space is always somewhat inappropriate, and their psychospatial orientation says, I don't know where here is. So if we don't have that sense of like where we are in space, of knowing where we are, we're not connecting into the ground, we just have this sense of collapsing. And it happens not only with trauma, but also just with aging, right? Gravity's over time starts to pull us down. And so yoga practices can help us resist that feeling of collapse in our bodies. So we're going to come down now and have your two blocks next to you, and we're going to be on our backs. Starting out with our core work. So take a couple of moments just to settle into your back body. Take a few breaths. And just perhaps thinking about your own posture, where you tend to collapse. Do you collapse in your joints? Do you collapse in your core? In things like plank pose, we might collapse into our lower backs. And we can look at that in our practices today. So we're going to take about 3 more breaths here, just kind of settling in, arriving for your practice, and having a sense of knowing where you are, knowing that you're here in this space, in this moment. So really having a quality of mindfulness can help us counter collapse. All right, so get started now. You can go ahead and bend your knees. And we're gonna take a block in between our inner thighs. And we've done this movement lots of times. Those of you with somatics, we've done it, the arch and curl, but we're gonna add the element of squeezing the block between the inner thighs today. So in the yoga anatomy world, the core also includes the bottom of our core. And that's a lot of pelvic floor and inner thigh. If those areas are weak, we're gonna have this kind of sense of collapsing from the center of our core. So this strengthens our inner thighs, as well as our pelvic floor and our transverse abdominis. So take your hands behind the back of your head. And then we're gonna inhale and arch the spine. And as you exhale, curl up and then squeeze the block and press your lower back into the ground. And then repeat, inhale, down, arch. Exhale, curl up and squeeze the block as you press your lower back into the ground. So we're gonna do a few more, and I want you to remember to go slowly. Because if we go quickly, we just start to use momentum and we're not gonna use the muscles as much. And our brain is not going to register that we're using those muscles, because we're just bypassing by going too quickly. So we want to slow it down. Now we're going to take it on a diagonal. So we inhale, arch, exhale, both elbows toward one knee, and still squeeze the block and press your lower back into the ground. And then keep that going a few more cycles on the diagonal. And that'll help strengthen more of the sides of our core. I'm going to do a few more on a diagonal. One more on each side. And then release back to the center. Keep the block where it is. So I hope you guys are ready for some core this morning, because we've got a lot more to do. We're going to really have kind of an extended core sequence here in the beginning before we move into our flow. So now take hands behind the back of the head again. This time we're coming straight up through center, and we're going to try and do double crunch. So we're going to inhale, press the elbows down, arch the back a little bit, and then exhale, lift up just part way, like 1/3 of the way. Squeeze your block, press your lower back down, keep your chin out of your chest. Now try to stay there, take another inhale, and exhale, lift a little higher. Good, inhale here, and then exhale, release. Now today we're going to try to add on a third, so it'll be a triple crunch. So we're going to really go for it today. So if 2's enough for you, stick with 2. Otherwise, let's inhale, little arch. Exhale, lift up 1/3, hold the low belly down. Inhale, exhale, up another third, press your lower back, keep your chin out of your chest. Inhale, exhale, lift up again, press that lower back, and then release. Inhale, come down. And on your own, let's try a couple more triple crunch or double crunch. Then you're still squeezing that block between the inner thighs. Those inhales each time, or might be kind of just a little sip of air. It doesn't have to be a full inhale. Because as we squeeze up into the crunch, it's a little harder to take that in. One more cycle. All right, and now let's slowly release. You can take that block out from the inner thighs, let the legs come out a moment, and just have a couple breaths into the belly. And we've got a little bit more to do here. So now we're gonna have 2 blocks. And we're gonna take one block, let's say call it the middle setting, so that it's wide, but not as wide as it can be. We're gonna put it between our feet and take the legs straight up. And then we're gonna take the other block in between our hands and take that block overhead. All right, so one of the things that can help this kind of a collapsed situation in our bodies is to hug to the midline and engage our muscles. So we're gonna press our hands into the block and press our edges of our feet into the block and try to look at your feet and make them even. Now take an inhale, exhale, press your back body into the ground. And as you press your back ribs and your shoulders and your sacrum, you might feel the core start to engage. If not, that's okay. Just do the best you can to press into the ground. Now take an inhale, exhale, lower that block in the feet about 1/3 of the way. Keep squeezing. And then inhale, come up. Exhale, press your back and lower 1/3. Now pause there, inhale, exhale, lower again, another 1/3. And then inhale, take it back up. Now, if this has gotten too much, you can always release your arms down. That might help. You can always bend your knees a little bit. Let's try again. Inhale. Exhale, press your back, lower 1/3. Inhale. Best as you can inhale. Exhale, lower another 1/3. This time, let's try one more 1/3. So take an inhale. Exhale, press your back and lower another 1/3. And inhale all the way up. Now go ahead and do a few more rounds to your capacity on your own. Remember, you're pressing your back into the ground. The reason for that is it's turning on our core muscles in the front, but we also don't want to overarch our low back here. So if you go to the point and your low back can't support you and it's really arching, I want you to stop and not go as far. So let's do 2 more rounds on your own. Remember, each time you lower, you're pressing your back body, and that's on an exhale. You can start to go as low as you can. Maybe you add another layer. So maybe lower 4 times. Last round on your own. You might feel this tomorrow, just giving you a little heads up. And then go ahead and come all the way up. And we're gonna set our feet on the floor. You're keeping the block between your feet. Let your arms come down for a moment. All right, it's not quite done yet. We're gonna take our legs out straight and try to have the block between your feet. And then take your arms overhead again and the block between your hands. And that's on the wide setting, the block between your hands. So see if you can get that block between your feet. That's kind of on the middle setting, and squeeze it. And then press your palms into the other block and press your back into the ground. So you should be in like a really nice straight line as if you were in Tadasana. We're gonna take an inhale, exhale. We're gonna lift the block that's in your hands, just a couple inches off the ground, and then lower. And now again, lift the block a couple inches, squeeze the block between your legs, press your back into the ground, and try to lift your feet off the ground just an inch or 2. So you're kind of hovering the arms, hovering the legs, squeeze, and release. Have a breath into the belly. Almost done. Take an inhale, exhale, lift the arms up a few inches. Inhale, exhale, lift the feet if you can. Now we're going to take the block overhead. Reach the block towards your feet. Lift your shoulders. Lift, lift, lift. Try to get the shoulder blades up off the ground. And we're coming up to sit. Reach the block over your head. And then release. Okay, guys. Good morning. We're going to come to seated now. Hope you guys got all that. So find a seat that's comfortable for you. And keep the block. Sorry, my necklace just got all messed up. I'm going to take it off. Have a block nearby. So if you need to pull in something to sit on, I'm going to pull in my pillow. Okay. Then take the block between your palms like we did on our backs, and we're going to reach it overhead. Good. Root your sit bones down. Try not to pop your ribs. As soon as we pop our ribs, we're going to lose our core. And then reach that block as high as you can. Hold it here, another breath. Good. And then we're going to take the block behind the back of your head. Press your head into the block into your head, and then squeeze your elbows in. And now from here, press your head back and start to take a little back bend. So your chin is going to lift a little bit. Keep pressing your head into the block. And we're trying to get the upper spine muscles to start to contract. So see if you can feel your spine squeezing inward, contracting the muscles along the spine. One more breath, squeeze the elbows in. And then stretch the block back up. Good, release, block comes down. So when we're collapsed, the front muscles of the spine are kind of shortening and the vertebrae are compressing in the front. And the back muscles that we just worked get really weak. So we're gonna work on strengthening those back muscles in our practice. Okay, let's come into tabletop pose from here. We're going to have a block between inner thighs, and we're going to work with that a bit today to continue to kind of strengthen that midline of the body. So we'll squeeze the block as we do our cat-cows. Go ahead, let's do about maybe 4 more rounds of cat-cow. Particularly squeezing that block on the exhalation. 2 more. And after this next one, hold the rounded position. Hold your cat, tuck your toes, push in your hands, squeeze your block. Keep rounding your back. Try to lift your knees off the ground and hover your knees off the ground. Squeeze your blocks, squeeze your arms, and push your arms into the ground. 1 more breath. And then we're going to take it up, downward facing dog with the block. All right, we're going to alternate now between table. Inhale, knees down, look up a little bit. Exhale, down dog. Lift the knees, lift the sit bones. And go ahead, do that 2 more rounds. That's it. Think about just kind of drawing, hugging toward the midline. Next time you're in dog, go ahead and stay in your dog. Sit bones lifting, arms firming. Hold here 1 more breath, squeeze your block, and try to reach your block toward the back of your mat. On your next inhale, plank pose, adjust your feet, and try not to sag your body, so don't collapse. Push into the ground. This is a strengthening practice. Back to your dog. 2 more like this. Inhale, plank pose. Give your block a good squeeze. Down dog. One more time. Next time you're back to dog, stay there and walk your hands back to your feet. You're at the back of your mat. And then a little bend in the knees, bring your hands to your hips. We're gonna come up to mountain pose. And we've got that block between the thighs. Okay. So standing nice and tall in your mountain pose, really kind of know where you are in space. This helps keeps us from collapse. So if we don't kind of root our feet into the ground and we just kind of stand, say we didn't have this block, we just start to feel this pull downward. But if we push our feet into the ground and we activate our legs, it gives us a rebound and that helps us stay up taller. So squeeze your block, root your feet down, and now let's try to lift your toes off the ground. So you feel more connected through your heel and the balls of your feet, but we're strengthening the arches of the feet by lifting our toes. So ankles and arches collapsed are another thing that we see in this type of situation. Okay, let the toes come down. And now we're going to try and lift our heels. So you're going to come up onto the balls of your feet, squeeze your block, strengthening the ankles. And now if you can, take your arms and reach them overhead. Good, keep squeezing the block, rooting into your feet. Reach up through your arms, lift your rib cage. Good, and then slowly release. It's surprisingly stable because we are hugging the block, so it really helps us stabilize. Let's do 2 more rounds. Inhale, lift up. Hold it as long as you can. And then exhale, release down. One more time. Good, and then from here, release. We're gonna take the block out, put it between our feet on the ground, middle setting. And then fold forward over your legs. Squeeze the block between your ankles and lift your toes off the ground. Keep a little bend in your knees so that we're not locking that joint. And tip your sit bones up toward the ceiling. Chest draws down, head draws down. Hold here, another breath. Keep lifting your toes. And make sure that weight is still even in your feet. We tend to pitch back to the heels. Good, we're gonna rise all the way up now. Keep that block, squeeze it between the feet. Reach the arms up, interlace your palms and press your palms up. Good, find a slight bend in your knees as you reach up and squeeze that block. Good, release, arms down, take your block out. Coming back to mountain pose. Now we're going to try those heel lifts without the block. So arms at your side, lift your heels, reach your arms up. And still hug to the midline. See if you can hold it here. Notice any differences in stability without a block to squeeze. Can we hold it here? Another breath. Good job, guys. All right, go ahead and slowly release. Adding a twist. Inhale, lift the heels, reach the arms up. Can you keep the heels up as you twist over to your right? And if you need to lower the heels, lower the heels. Inhale through center, keep them up if you can. Exhale to the other side. So building ankle and arch strength is a really good strategy for helping our collapse. Now, heels down, arms down for a moment. Take a breath. We're going to do that again. So inhale, lift the heels, reach the arms, take your twist. Inhale, center, heels stay up, chair pose with your heels up if you can. Pretend you're kind of hugging to that midline with your hands and your inner thighs. And then inhale up, heels stay up if you can, twist the other way. Good, inhale up to center, bend those knees. Last time, chair pose, heels up if you can. And then we'll release. Very nice, guys. Shake it out. And let's do a couple flows, couple sun sounds, and we'll add in some poses. So let's just stand at the top of the mat, couple of Suriname A's. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lengthen, halfway lift. Step back, plank pose, watch for collapsing. Let's hold our plank for a moment. Press your hands into the mat and corkscrew them open a little bit so your elbow creases start to turn a little more forward. And then let's lower knees if you need to, lower all the way down. Inhale, cobra, shoulders back. Exhale, down, stay down. This time, cobra with the hands off the ground. So press your feet down, lift your chest. Use those back muscles. And then release, downward facing dog. So just adding a couple little things into our sun cell. Inhale here, exhale, walk your feet forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, rise up. And we're going to add a little back bend, hands onto the lower back, pull the sacrum down, lift and open the chest. Try to keep the back of the neck long. Remember when we press the head into the block, so don't drop your head. And then release, back to now. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Step it back, plank pose, top of a push-up. You can go to your cobra. If you want to do an up dog, lower halfway, chaturanga, lift your chest. And downward facing dog. Right through this time, inhale, and as you exhale, walk your feet forward, top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, rise all the way up. And exhale, release, arms down at your side. Good. Okay, standing in mountain pose. Try to find a really good, nice tall posture. You can also look at pelvic tilt for collapse, because a lot of times pelvic tilt is off. So lift the low belly, lengthen tail. And then we're going to stand on the left leg and come onto the ball of the right foot. Keep your shoulders back so your chest is nice and open, not collapsing. And then lift that right knee up about hip height. Pause, hug to the midline. And then extend that leg out straight in front of you. Pause and hug to the midline. From here, bring the knee in and a big step back into a lunge. Good, then we're gonna drop down onto the back knee. Inhale, reach the arms up. And we're gonna hold on to opposite elbows overhead, that's it. You're gonna inhale here, lift those elbows up as you pull the tailbone down and a little forward. So we're getting a little bit of back hip flexor. Our hip flexors have a lot to do with collapse because they tend to pull us into a rounded spine when we're under stress or threat. So they can be really tight and are weak because they're just kind of firing all the time. So we're stretching that back hip flexor, pull the tailbone a little forward, take an inhale, reach the elbows higher. And as you exhale, we're going to side bend over toward the left side. Lengthening the side body, another important part of our collapse practice, because our side body gets shortened. So now take that right elbow and reach it as high up as you can, and then side bend a little more. Stay grounded through your feet. Then inhale up, slide into your front knee, keep pulling the tailbone a little forward, lift the elbows up, lift your back ribs up, and then maybe a little deeper into your Anjaneyasana, a little back bend. Now stretch the arms, reach them back. Good, release, hands down. Lift your back knee, spin that foot down to the ground, and cartwheel your arms up into a warrior two. Good, and then find that length through the spine. And we'll come into reverse warrior, another length for that side body. And then side angle to the front. Your variation here, if you want to slide the hand down, you're welcome to. We're going to revisit some of these poses. Back to warrior two. Cartwheel your hands down, step back, take a vinyasa if you would like. You can also go right to your dog. Okay, when you're ready, we're going to come back to the top of the mat. So step or lightly jump, top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, reach those arms all the way up. And exhale, release, arms down at your side. So now we're going to do that whole thing on the other side. Standing in your good tall mountain pose. Find your neutral pelvis. And we're going to stand on the right leg, come onto the ball of the left foot. Bring the knee up. Hug to the midline, pause. And as steady and upright as you can. And then extend that leg out in front of you if you can. Hold for a pause. Activating the legs. Now big step back into your lunge. Drop down onto that back knee. Pat it if you need to. And then we're going to reach the arms up, hold opposite elbows. But make sure you switch the crossing so you're doing it the awkward way. Okay. Staying here, hold the tailbone down and slightly forward and reach those elbows up high. Hug to the midline, root into the ground. Know where you are in space. And then we're going to take the side bend over to the right. And we're going to hold for a few breaths. You can really work on stabilizing. Lift that left elbow as high as you can, and then maybe a little more side bend. Holding here, another breath. And then we'll slowly coming up through center, slide into that front knee, and we come deeper into Anjaneyasana. Rooting into your front foot, hug to the midline. Hook your tailbone a little forward. And then inhale, lift the elbows high, and then to the back a little bit. When you're ready, take the arms and reach them back. Good, release, hands down, lift the back knee, and spin into warrior two. All right, nice and simple this time through, just coming into a reverse and into a side angle and back to warrior two. Good, cartwheel your hands down, take the vinyasa if you would like. Coming through downward facing dog. All right, and then from here, take an inhale as you exhale, step or lightly jump, top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. And as you exhale, hands to that lower back, pull the tailbone down, take a little back bend. Good, slowly release, coming up to stand. All right, so we're gonna do that again from the top. We're gonna add some things on. So standing on your left leg, bring your right knee up. Extend that leg out in front of you, maybe a little faster through this time. Big step back into your lunge. Good. And this time, let's inhale, reach those arms up. Pause here in high lunge. Get as upright as you can in your spine. Lift your rib cage. Have a little bend in that back knee so we can hook that tailbone a little forward. We're opening that hip flexor. Now slowly lower all the way down. Go slow. Pad that knee if you need to. Hold on to opposite elbows. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, side bend to your left. Hook the tailbone forward. Inhale, reach up. Slide deeper into your front knee. Elbows lift, come into your back bend. Then reach the arms back behind you. This time, take your right hand, see if you can reach it back. You're gonna hold on to your leg, your shin, or your heel. So depending on how far you come into that back bend. Slide deeper into the front knee and then reach to the back. Right shoulder rolls back. And now kind of keep hooking that tailbone a little forward, get that hip flexor stretch on the front leg. Good, slowly rise back up. Hands down to the ground, lift the back knee, warrior two. Good, bring those arms up, and now we're gonna square the chest toward the long edge. Hold on to opposite elbows again. Press down into your feet and pull the legs apart a bit. We really activate the legs. Inhale, reach those elbows as high as you can, and then to the back for your reverse warrior with the elbows. Pause there, strong legs. Reach to that front elbow a little bit more and then side bend a little more. Good, inhale, come up. Tip your pelvis towards your back leg a bit, and then we're gonna come into side angle, holding on to those opposite elbows. Take your top elbow, turn it back a little bit, so we open the chest, don't collapse forward. Pull the front sit bone back a little bit. Good, rise up, root into your feet, warrior two. Very nice, cartwheel your hands down, vinyasa if you'd like to take one. All right, when you're ready, big inhale as you exhale, step or jump top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, rise all the way up. And exhale, release, arms down, pause. We'll prepare for side two. So now standing on your left leg, come onto the ball of your right foot. Lift that knee up, extend it forward. And then big step back into your lunge. We're gonna stay in the high lunge on the ball of the back foot. Little bend in that back knee so we can hook the tailbone forward, opening that back hip flexor. And then when you're ready, go ahead and take arms up. Keep hugging to the midline. Your arms like you're hugging your imaginary block, inner thighs, tailbone hook. And then slowly lower all the way down. Up, Joan, the rain came here. It's raining outside. All right, we're gonna hold on to opposite elbows the opposite way. Lift the elbows up high, hook the tailbone. And then we're side bending over to that other side. That's it. I'm gonna turn around because I'm facing the opposite side this time. One more breath, reach through that elbow. And then we're coming back up through the center. Hook the tailbone and then slide the knee a little forward. Reach the arms up and to the back. Keep standing into that front foot. Reach the arms back. Good, and now reaching that same arm as the leg that goes back. I'm gonna just wanna mix up my rights and lefts this time. Reach into that camel lunge. So we call this camel lunge as kind of a hybrid between a camel and a lunge. You can reach for the heel if you can get that far, or even just the thigh or the shin. And then that arm can reach back, hook the tailbone forward. Roll the bottom shoulder back. One more breath. And then we'll slowly start to come up. Cartwheel your hands down. Lift the back knee. Warrior two. Good. Holding on to opposite elbows the awkward way. Inhale, lift nice and tall. Press into your feet and pull apart with your feet a little bit. Reverse your warrior with the elbows. And then that front elbow reaches a little more toward the back. Lengthen the side body. And then inhale, come up and to the front. Tip your pelvis toward the back foot. It'll help you deepen the front hip crease. And really press into your front heel and the back heel. Reach those elbows. Good, rising back up, warrior two. Cartwheel your hands down, vinyasa if you would like one. All right, guys, that was a challenging sequence. Let's take a quick child's pose after that vinyasa. So sometimes collapse happens when we tire ourselves out too much, right? We burn ourselves out. And then our fire goes out, and our fire is in our core, in the tradition of the chakras, right? So that's our center for empowerment. So notice if you burn yourself out in your practice, and we don't want to go too far, making sure we build in these times of rest. We got a little more work to do though, just a little more. All right, we're gonna slide forward onto the belly. A couple rounds of seal pose. Again, back bends for countering the rounded spine of collapse. Feet can press into the ground and we're gonna activate the legs. So sometimes we do this more yin style. Today we're gonna do it a little more active. So you're gonna put your palms on the ground, turn them out a little bit, and then slowly press yourself up. And see if you can straighten your arms. And keep your shoulders back, and you might take a little sway side to side. So seal pose is really good at activating the muscles of our lower back. And that actually gives us a little bit more sympathetic charge. So those of you who were here last week, we talked about parasympathetic, which a lot of us need if we're in fight flight, we're overactivated. But a collapsed person needs a little bit more charge. So back bends are a little more balancing for them. Hold in the center, lift your chest, lift your chin, last breath. And then slowly release, coming down. Prop up onto your forearms. Take an inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, we're gonna curl up into our dolphin plank curls. So we're gonna lift the chest, the ribs, the hips. You're just on your knees on the fleshy part. Push in your arms, tuck your tailbone under, and hold. One more breath. Activate those core muscles. And then release. Sometimes a little shaking goes on in that. That's just your body working. Inhale, Sphinx pose. Exhale, release. Slide your hands back. seal posture. Lift up. A little sway if you like, or you can stay still. Stretching out those hip flexors. Think about your navel lifting. Come back to center. Lift your navel, lift your chest. Lift your gaze. And then release. Come down into Sphinx posture. Pause in your Sphinx. This is the kind of sequence that can really wake us up too. If we're kind of like sleepy in the morning. It's kind of a back bending practice. Is just like a little natural caffeine. So now we're going to do another Sphinx roll. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, peel up. Till you're just on your tops of your knees. And then tuck your tailbone under. Push into your arms. Hold it. Get those abdominal muscles to turn on by hooking the tailbone in. Now, if you want a little more challenge, lift your kneecaps. Come into full dolphin plank. Keep those hips low, but don't collapse. And tuck your tailbone a little bit. We tend to dip into the lower back. Slowly release. Come down for a little rest. All right, we're going to come up onto the forearms again. I won't make you do that again, but we are going to do dolphin pose now, which is good for our upper spinal strength. So forearms down, going to come to your knees, and then tuck your toes, lift up, dolphin pose. This time hips are high, walk your feet in any amount, push into your arms. And try to get your chest to slightly move towards your toes to get the upper spine muscles to contract in. Hold for a few breaths. Really try to engage your shoulder muscles by pushing down through your arms. If you want, lift one leg. And then the other. And foot down, knees down, and a child's pose. Take a few breaths there. If we were in a person, I would say nice progression would be our forearm stand, but since we're not all at the middle of we're not all at a wall, but if you want to practice that later, you'd be really prepped for that if you'd want to. 2 more breaths in your child's pose. And then grab your 2 blocks. Put them head to head so that the short edges line up. And we're going to do puppy pose, another upper spine type of pose. I'm bringing the energy down a bit now. We're going to put elbows onto those 2 blocks. And then bring your palms together, walk your knees back. And then your forehead can either rest on the blocks or come down to the floor. And then palms can come behind the back of your head. Okay, so we're going to press into those arms so that you're not completely collapsing into it. So when you press through the elbows, helps engage your shoulder muscles. So again, a collapsed type of body, we don't have much support in our joints. We tend to overextend our shoulder joints, our elbow joints, our knee joints. 1 more breath there. And then we're going to carefully come out, press through your arms, come back to child's pose again, but let your forearms stay up onto the blocks. And let your head come to the floor. If you don't like that version, feel free to take another version. But see if you can sense that upper spine moving in a little bit. Okay, so when you're ready, go ahead and slowly start to come up. So we're going to take active fish pose, then we're going to do a supported fish and an option to add a back bend into it. Well, it's a back bend, but we option to deepen it, let's say that. So first, let's come down on our backs for fish pose, which again is an upper back strengthener. So most of this practice has been strengthening core, but also working on opening up our back rather than rounding it. Let's tuck the hands underneath your hips, if that's comfortable for you. Feet are flat to start out, and then let's kind of tuck the elbows in a little bit so that the arms are a little closer. Slide your shoulder blades towards each other so you feel like your chest and collarbones are opening up. Slide your legs out straight, flex your feet, wiggle those shoulders in again. And now press down into your legs, activate them, press down in your forearms, start to pull your heart up toward the sky. Once you feel like that's as far as you can go, push in your arms, open your collarbones, try to contract your upper back muscles. Throat is open. And you might lift your legs off the ground, coming into a deeper version. Hold the arms isometrically apart to open your chest. And slowly, slowly coming down, untuck your arms and release. Just have a moment on your back, let everything settle. Okay, so actually, I forgot to say we're going to do a bridge too before we do some of this other stuff. So we're going to take our two blocks again. And we're going to put one between our feet, like we did on our backs for our core. One block between inner thighs. Try to squeeze those blocks as best you can. Come into robot arms, palms facing each other. And lift your toes off the ground, activate your arches. Push down into the heels and the balls of the feet, squeeze your block. And now root into your upper arm bones, tuck your shoulders in a little bit, shoulder blades in. So your chest feels lifted just like in your fish. Now lift the hips up an inch, squeeze your blocks, wiggle the shoulders in. And then lift those hips up as high as they'll go. Press the hips up. Squeeze the glutes. Press in your feet. Maybe clasp your hands or hold the edges of your mat. Can you get those shoulders in any amount more? And then slowly undo. Coming down. Undo the shoulders. We're going to do one more round. So make any adjustments. I'm actually going to turn the block between my feet a little wider because mine didn't stay in place. So you might turn that block the long way. It happened to you. And let's try one more round of bridge. Robot the arms. Squeeze your blocks. Tuck the shoulders in. Chest lifts like fish pose. Take an inhale. Exhale, press in your arms, lift up an inch, walk those shoulders in again. And then next inhale, lift those hips as high as you can. Maybe hold the mat, roll the shoulders under again. Maybe clasp your hands. Now, can you tip your tailbone up, 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 opening those hip flexors? Root the arm bones down. And slowly release, undo the shoulders, come down from the top of your spine. So Bridge pose is a great way to counter collapse because we're strengthening the whole back body in that pose. All right. Here we go. We're going to now do supported fish so we get to chill a little bit. So we're going to take one block underneath the shoulder blades, one block under your head. Now they can be on whatever levels feel good for you today. I'm going to go medium and high. So medium under my shoulder blades, high under the back of the head. And then you want to try to line this first block up right about at the strap line, bottom tips of the shoulder blades. And the other block underneath your head. Let's take legs out straight if that's comfortable. You can also keep them bent or down angle. We're going to stay here for a minute or two. You might tuck your shoulder blades in a bit, opening the chest. So when we're in a position like this, we're all propped up on the blocks. So the blocks are doing the preventing of collapsing, keeping our upper spine in a bit. So just feel that support of something holding you up. Stay here for about 1 more minute. Just dropping in, letting those shoulders soften. So you have the option of staying here for a little longer, or if you want to see this set up for the next version, I'm going to prop myself up. And we're going to do this version where we're going to sit into like a Virasana. So it's kind of like Supta Virasana. If this is challenging for you to sit with your knees bent, then I would say stay with the first version. So if you can, you would walk yourself forward and then kind of tip your tailbone a little forward and see if you can bring yourself back onto blocks with your knees bent. And we get a nice stretch for the front of the quads, and we're still getting this nice lift to the chest. If that's too intense, then stick with the legs out straight, or maybe you want to move them to like a bound angle for another option. This is a little intense. You could think about kind of tipping your tailbone up a little bit and lengthening it, which can help the lower back. Let's hold here for a little bit longer. Last 3 breaths. And after your 3rd breath, just slowly start to press yourself up and then kind of scoot your feet out from under if you took that Virasana version. And then we can take those blocks out of the way. Come down and let's have a nice full body stretch after that. There we go. Let's do a little up slip, down slip while we're here from our somatic work. So clasp your hands, flip them toward the wall behind you, and then slide one leg as long as you can. And then slide the other leg. Feel that up slip, down slip in the sacrum. This one's also good for collapse as we're lengthening psoas muscle here. Keep pushing through your palms, slide one leg long, then the other leg long. Good, and then let's release that and bring those knees back into the chest. Keep your knees right over your chest. Take your arms out to a T. Lift the shins so they're parallel to the floor. Take an inhale, exhale, press your lower back down. Take an inhale, exhale, take your knees to the right about 3-4 inches. And press your opposite shoulder down. And then inhale, center. Exhale to the other side. Also squeeze your legs towards each other. You can let your head start to roll in the opposite direction. Inhale, center, exhale. Now each time you might go a little bit farther if your body allows for it, or just go 3 or 4 inches off center. Strengthening side of core again. Maybe you can hover those knees above the ground. And now the next time you come over to one side, stay there, let the knees come down. Maybe your hand comes on the top knee and take a few breaths. You might look over your opposite shoulder. And then up and over to the other side. Scoot your hips over if you need to. Couple breaths there. Now always use a block if there's any strain. You're gonna let the belly soften, arms and shoulders relax. And then next inhale, we're coming back to the center. You can hug your knees in one more time. Rock a little bit side to side. Maybe take a happy baby. I'm gonna be coming up. So finish up anything that you need to do. And we're gonna be taking Shavasana shortly, because I want to save a little time for seated meditation and breath work today. So finding Shavasana when you are ready, no hurry. So take your time, find that nice, even position on your back. And notice how here in Shavasana, when we're on our backs, our spine is supported by the ground. Our core and our back muscles don't need to hold us up. We can surrender all our effort here, knowing that we are supported. So sometimes collapse happens when we feel lack of support. And that might mean physical support of our spine, muscles, and our cores we worked on today. But it might also mean lack of emotional support. We collapse, feeling that, no one's got our back. So our practice helps us develop that sense of empowerment through helping us straighten our spines out. So sometimes when we change our physiology, our psychology changes as well. meaning we fix the slump, we sit up tall, we feel more empowered, we might think more empowered thoughts. And also, if we fix the thoughts, we might find that our physiology also changes. If we're not thinking such defeated, kind of heavy downward thoughts, perhaps we might not collapse into our body. So let's continue to rest for a few more minutes. I'm going to have a reading for you as you settle in here. This is from Jeff Foster, A Brand New Day. To all of the heartbroken ones, the misunderstood ones, to all you misfits, outcasts, freaks, and worldly failures, to the ones they jeer at, poke, ridicule, crucify, to all you lonely, disillusioned poets and mad visionaries, to those whose worlds are falling apart, to those who have sought the light for so long and yet still feel so far away, to those whose unshakable absolutes have dissolved into the relative, to those whose hearts are burning up, to those whose dreams have crumbled to the ground, and to those who have given everything for truth, to those who have taken the path of crucifixion over the path of worldly comfort, to all of you out there in the dark, I salute you. There is such dignity in what you are going through. Life has called you to the deepest kind of trust in your own experience. Do not turn away. This is your unique invitation. From the cosmic perspective, nothing has gone wrong. Only the false can die. From the perspective of the heart, it is always a brand new day. Your beauty lies in your willingness to break. I walk with you, my perfectly broken family. Take a couple more minutes to rest. All right, everyone, start to come back to awareness. Notice how you feel at the end of your practice. And then start some smaller movements, deepening breath. Take your time. And if there's bigger movement that you crave, feel free to start to move any way you like. Make sure when you come up, you take that little pause on your side before coming into a seated posture. When you do come to sit, find whatever is most comfortable for you. You sit up on a prop if you like. And we're going to finish with a seated breath and meditation practice. Also, we're going to use a mudra. So first, we're going to sit up tall. Sense that the sit bones are rooting down to give you that rebound effect of lifting up. So we don't press the sit bones, we just let the sit bones drop. You'll notice your spine will tend to drop. So root those sit bones down to help you keep the lower back in. As soon as the lower back goes out, we collapse. So lower back in without popping the ribs, and then we have a nice connection to our core. Either a soft gaze or you could close your eyes. And start to breathe into your belly. Sometimes we mistakenly think sucking it in is how we strengthen our core. It does work, but it sacrifices our breath. So if we do the core from our alignment and also from our practices, rather than constantly sucking our belly in, we want to keep the belly available for breath. When our breath is compromised, we will feel less empowered. We're going to take Viloma, which is an interrupted breath. A lot of times when we're in collapse, we're stuck in our exhales, so a little opposite from what I often talk about. So we're going to try and increase our inhales by taking 2 rounds of an inhale. So it's an interrupted breath. So I'm going to talk you through it. Take a few normal breaths yet. And I want you to make sure that you don't fill to 100% capacity. I want you to go about 2/3 of the way so we keep it soft. Okay, on your next inhale, fill up about 1/3 of the way. Pause when you get to the top of that 1/3. And then try to inhale again, about now 2/3 full. Pause at the top of that. And then slowly exhale it out. Now, it might be challenging to do it at my pace, so do that at your own pace. Inhale 1/3 into the belly, pause. And then inhale another 1/3, pause, increasing our prana. And then exhale, slowly let it out. So for a collapse situation, this kind of a breath practice, first of all, inhales help us lengthen our spine. So that's going to help with our spinal extension. But it also gives us a little boost of energy. So when we're collapsed, we're kind of like, we're like a blob. We don't have much energy, much life force in us. Let's take 3 more rounds like that. Remember not to go all the way full, as that might create a little strain. So about 2/3. Remember, slowly let it out. 1 more round. Remember the pauses. And then come back to normal breath. We're going to take a hand position now. We're going to interlace our hands in front of the chest. Cross your thumbs and then extend your index fingers up. Can you guys see that? So like this. Extend your, and you're going to put that right in front of your chest. And then either close your eyes or soft focus. And I'd like you to press your palms together, which helps you open and lift your chest. And then come to a soft breath into the belly. This is the Uttara Bodhi Mudra, according to my teacher, is the mudra of supreme awakening. The seal of the hands brings firmness, confidence, and clarity. It strengthens our willpower, our sense of purpose, and helps us focus on the inhalation, spreading prana through the chest and the back. Keep breathing. I'm going to share one more thing with you. This is a mantra. You can repeat it if you like. It's Om Hum Kashum Hum. Om Hum Kashum Hum. Om Hum Kashum Hum. Hum is a syllable of creation. Kashum is a syllable of destruction. They're both situated in the third eye. Kashum is a word that suggests mental force with the dual effect of cutting through and forgiving. It has a stabilizing and grounding influence while helping to manifest Shakti, life force energy. Hum is a fire syllable, a weapon of protection, a mantra that can be used to destroy negativity with this lightning fire. So this is the mantra that my teacher gave for collapse. We'll say it 3 more times. Om Hum Kashum Hum. Om Hum Kashum Hum. Om Hum Kashum Hum. We're going to bring our palms together now in front of the heart space. As you inhale, allow the heart to lift. And as you exhale, bowing your head to your heart. Thank you so much, everyone. Namaste.